Well, hello, my paranormal peeps, and welcome back to another Deep Woods Paranormal Podcast. My name is Matt Harvey. I am the founder and lead investigator with Deep Woods Paranormal. My wife and I, along with others, investigate everything paranormal in nature. Every week, we will discuss everything from creepy haunted locations to ghosts to Bigfoot, UFOs, Dogman, and other cryptid creatures, and explore all things paranormal in nature. All right, guys. So we have a special guest today. We have Linda Meris. She's an author and also a paranormal investigator. And she's come on to basically tell us her story and tell us a little bit about her experiences. And also, she's writing a book. So, and that'll be out here in April, I think he said. So we'll have you talk a little bit about that. What got you into the paranormal field?
I believe it started my childhood and having all these unusual experiences, and they just led up to other experiences. And then the curiosity of wanting to know more
Mm-hmm.
and finally realizing that I have a gift. The psychometry, which is holding personal objects.
Mm-hmm.
People wear different metals, clothing items, and sometimes just precious stones or whatnot, that they, as long as they feel and hold them, I can get a lot of vibrations from them.
Right.
And I've done shows, and people told me that, hey, you're accurate, you're for real. And I've always been shy. So for me to be told that this is something, it's a big deal.
Right.
And so I took the course on psychometry. And as I said, I started reading people in comedy clubs,
Mm-hmm.
in hotels, parties, and it just developed more. And then I started doing automatic writing.
Oh, crazy. Yeah,
That
my
was a
wife does
big
that.
deal. That was a big deal to do that. Because I realized that the writing, after reading what I wrote, after feeling the sensitivity of going with it and letting myself just know that it's for real and that I'm safe and all that. And when I read back what I wrote, it was unbelievably not me, but in a good way, in a high spiritual way,
Yeah.
not me. And when that came about, that's when I decided to do more and actually get a book published. A friend of mine told me my material was very spiritual and significant, and I should do something with it.
Right
And
on.
so after 37 years, I did. And then I keep remembering the experiences I had. I'll give you one. For instance, I was a child of 6, and my brother and I went to see Santa Claus
Oh, cool.
in our hometown.
Yeah.
And he was like about 12, and he held my hand to get in this huge crowd in a parking lot because Santa Claus was about to land. And he lost touch with me. He
Uh-oh.
he up and I was all alone, and then the crowd got more excited, and I'm talking about people way back of me, and people way in front of me, and they started pushing closer because the helicopter landed to let Santa Claus out. Oh my God, I was feeling that I'm going to die. I was being pushed. Nobody saw this little girl scared out of her mind. I was screaming. No one heard me. Can you imagine screaming and no one hearing you?
Yep.
I was about to fall on the pavement when all of a sudden people stopped pushing from behind. And in front of me, I swear this was like a divine intervention. I don't care if no one believes me or what. People started separating, a mass of people went to the left and to the right of me. And all I knew was to just run out of the crowd. I was too little to know this is weird. But then later years, you said, wow, there was no reason for people to leave because Santa Claus had just landed. So why would they leave to go out of the crowd to get away from Santa? It made no logical sense.
Right.
Except somebody was saving me. And my brother didn't know that I was in trouble because he was too young to understand what was going on. He was just waiting on the side for me as if, oh, she'll come out of the crowd when she does. It was incredible, the sight. If there was a movie on my life with these stories, it would be amazing. Just the effects alone.
Yeah.
Be incredible.
So somebody was looking out for you.
Oh, and a number of times. And it was just something you don't forget these things. These are experiences you just keep in mind forever, but you don't consciously walk around with it. Except when a friend said to me, Linda, when you write this book, I want you to write your stories too, not just your channeling. I want you to tell people all about you.
Right.
And I have a number of stories that's in the book about this experience. Plus, I saw one vision of spirit.
Interesting.
Yes.
What'd you see?
And okay, I was in a comedy club, just in the bar area. This is also in the book, but I'll give you the information. And I was just there to hang out. The show was still going on. Just keep in mind, the show was going on. It was a crowded bar. And then all of a sudden, I see people in the bar leave the club. The people sitting at the bar facing me turned around simultaneously towards the bartender, like as if like it was a dance. And it was just going in a beautiful, graceful. I can't even, you have to have been there, of course.
Yeah.
And as I said to myself, all right, what is this? And then to my left, I see who appeared ethereally was Freddie Prinze. This was years back. Wait, this is a week after he passed. Freddie was a comedian and actor.
Right.
And I said, oh, come on. The guy passed a week ago. This is all psychological. You know, I had to, this is just too weird to be true.
Yeah.
He looks at me, walks over to his photo on the wall, points to it, and shakes his head up and down, like, yes. So I'm looking at him and I'm saying, this is way out.
Yeah.
And I started to walk out of the club. I said, who's going to believe this? I started walking out of the club. And when I turned around just to look back, he was looking at me intensely. He kept watching me. That's not the end. I walk out of the bar. And before I woke up the next morning, I hear clairaudiently in my ears, which is like a clairvoyance, but clairaudient through hearing, put on the album America. And I just, America, I had to go dig through this album. I haven't heard, and I haven't heard the song that he referred to. But when I heard this, the last song on the second side of the album, it was called Pigeon Song. And it blew me away. The lyrics were just about his life.
Wow.
Symbolically, but really you knew it was him. And wow. So when I have these experiences, to me, they're very powerful.
Right.
I don't
definitely
let this is not bullshit. I hope I can say that. I don't know if I can. You can block that out if you have to.
Yeah.
But it was just something extraordinary. And I can't, it's in the book. I just had to put that in there. And it was just incredible.
That's awesome. Well, a lot of us that are, I don't know what you want to call it, psychic mediums, or we just have some kind of ability, or we're just more open. As I say, we start out young. I mean, your story sounds a lot like mine. Like, as a little kid, I used to see spirits just like you and me, and I could never tell what was what. And my parents weren't any help because they didn't know what the heck was going on. So, yeah, that kind of left me all by myself on that, and I had to figure it out too. But yeah, I mean, as I've gone on, I've figured it out. But yeah, I mean, the more you delve into this, I mean, the more interesting it seems to get, the more experiences you seem to have and stuff like that. So, I mean, almost everybody I talk to who is gifted, I'll just say gifted, has the same stories. It started out as a kid, and I started having these experiences, and I got saved by somebody multiple times, and I can attest to that too. I've been saved from death multiple times.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of close encounters or close calls, I should say. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And just for reference, what sometimes things will hold energy. I mean, if I'm holding this glass and you came in here and you might pick up on, oh man, he was really thirsty that day when he was drinking out of that or whatever, you know, or whatever item it is. You can pick up an item. I have a couple friends like you that can do that, can walk in and pick up an item and go, what the heck happened here? So yeah, or it doesn't just pertain just to items. It pertains to, like, if you walked into this room or into this house, you could go, this happened or that happened, or who's that little girl, or whatever, who's that German guy in your hallway? Hopefully you'd have more answers than I do, because I don't seem to have any answers, but uh to this point yet. But as time goes on, we'll let him talk. We do have a spirit box that we communicate with him every once in a while. But yeah, pretty interesting. I mean, you sound a lot like me. I've had a lot of crazy experiences, and I continue to have crazy experiences. When you were doing your writing, did you ever get anything that you just look back on and said, "Well, what the heck is that?" You know what I mean? And was there any like personal messages that you feel comfortable talking about, or any messages you just looked and went, "Oh yeah," it's like an aha moment.
Oh, a number of them. I will say this. Um, yes, this past life of a comedian that I channeled had this one, he called it a rap poem, but I'm not going to rap. And it's just, I'm just going to read it because it's so significant for now.
Awesome.
Okay. If I had a rap poem, it would be dig it, don't dope. It's justice I denote. I'm a man of my word, as you might have heard. I wrote this book as I knew I should. I quote the truth, I lay it on real tough. I do it all in the name of love. Bigotry don't jive. In ignorance, we won't survive.
Very cool.
And this is throughout the book. There's more poetic things, but just he tells it like it is.
Nice.
And um, I suggest people to read this because they're going to be blown away by the impactfulness of it.
That's
It's very
awesome.
powerful. It's a quick read, but wow, you're going to say, whoa, this is amazing. And
Cool.
I recently, I will say this. Do you remember Richard Lewis, the
Oh yeah.
comedian?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then I just recently got something from him. It's a little in the rough, but I'll tell you. He says, I am sorry. I could have, that I left on my behalf. I did not leave on my behalf. I've stumbled piteously and grieve also, as others have for my former life deceased. Um, I am grateful for my life lessons and appreciate your sentence with this gift to channel and hear our words. My love, my heartfelt embrace to a certain person a daughter of a comedian, and others who knew me and appreciated all of our friends and fans and family. I do appreciate you all. You being the neighbor. Now I'm the neighbor who saved the archive of this past comedian, not Richard, but another one. And you let us in to do this writing, and you let us in on to express our innermost souls. To my wife, my sadness, my soulmate, this miraculous, divine, and spiritual blessings from end of life. My thanks to me, he was thanking me again, that you saved the extraordinary life history of one of the best legends of comedic history. And it says at the end, to my friend Larry David, think funny when you think of me. Hmm. That's what I got so far. I mean, these kind of things just happen. They just happen. Absolutely. Cool. So this is what's in this book, Hypocrisy versus Mysticism, Wisdom, Morality. It's all that amazing, amazing things that people need to read now with what we're going through worldwide.
Yeah, things are crazy for sure.
Yes.
Is there let me start that question again. What's the most haunted location you've ever been in?
Oh,
and
that's a good one.
Give us several if you want.
I'm not one to walk into a haunted house if I know it's haunted at night.
Oh.
My brother always told me, I'm sorry to say, that the boogeyman was going to get me.
Oh, no.
He always told me that. I could see a movie, he'd scare me. He would come and go like this, and like a spider. He was a teaser. Oh. So I would say the most haunted place was my bedroom.
Oh, no.
Growing up, because I had so many visitors. I would hear voices in my sleep dream state. I don't want to say voice, you know how people feel. And I would just feel like they're conversational. When you're a child, you don't realize that you're a child in the sense of these things aren't usual. They don't just happen.
Right.
You're part of something that you feel is part of life. Oh, this is happening now. I'm a kid, so this is part of life. It's like observing anything else new. And it was all over my bedroom. And then the boogeyman was going to get me. And I mean, my brother would creep around. And I mean, he had this thing of teasing me. So
oh, no.
I can't say it's Horror Hotel
no.
or the haunted house on the hill somewhere.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, I was lucky enough not to have somebody truly trying to mess with me, but yeah, I got messed with a lot. I had shadows darting around my room, and I'd have like the closet door open and close, and pillow pull out from under my head. And
oh my God, that's scary. Did you find out what was going on in your house?
No, well, yeah, I think my parents had built somebody had built this house on Indian burial ground. It's a brand new house, brand new tract. And I don't think they moved the bones. And so this entity was not happy about having us there. And then of course it just kind of followed me from there on out. The next house, I found out that the previous owner had passed away, and his family was renting the place out before they sold it. And so we stayed there for about a year, and he had this beautiful bar, and he was about maybe 20 feet long. And so I used to sleep in the rec room above the garage, and that's where he had a dance floor in that room. He loved to put on parties, I guess. And he was one night I wake up and I look up and I hear like beer bottles being shuffled back and forth. And I'm like,
wow.
What? And I look behind the bar and I thought it was my dad. And this guy just, brings up a crate of, I guess it was glasses actually, and sets it on the bar and looks over at me and gives me this look. And then I realized it's not my dad. And then he disappeared. along with the beer bottles. I'm like, what in the world? And I'm getting goosebumps. They
Was it in flesh?
stories.
I mean, did it look like a person
It
or did
looked
it
just
look?
like us. I mean, he was solid as could be. I was confused. I was like, wait, where'd he go? And then I essentially had to do a double take. I'm like, oh, okay. And then from there on out, he and I, kind of didn't agree on things, if you will. He did not like the fact that I could see him, I guess. He didn't know he was dead. He thought we had invaded his house or something, and he wanted us out. He was like, get out, get out, get out. And I would hear him say, get out, get out, get out in my head. And yeah, it sucked. 13, when I was like 14, 15 years old. And then yeah, my grandma.
And no one else saw him?
No, thank God. But yeah, he was frustrated, and he took it out. He figured out I could see him, I could hear him and stuff, so he would mess with me mainly, and made it hard for me to sleep at night.
Mm.
He made sure I knew, that rec room was his, and he would turn the TV on, and sometimes I don't know what else he did. I just felt his presence mainly, and he was unhappy. I could tell he was unhappy. He was like very upset that he had passed away.
If
So
you had seen him again and you knew better, you could have told him to move on and say, listen, you're
I
deceased,
didn't know.
you're
I
a
was
spirit.
15 years
Yeah,
old. Yeah.
15 years old.
It
Too bad
wasn't,
you could, yeah.
yeah, really honestly, it wasn't until I met my wife when I was 19 and we had moved into a house that my dad built, also on Indian burial ground, possibly. And oh boy, that house that had a demonic entity in it and it was not happy.
Oh, no. It
And so,
goes to show you have to look beyond just looking at if the house is built well and it's safe to be in. You have to look to see if it's spiritually light.
no, it was not light. It was when you walked in, you felt like a thick, heavy presence on your shoulders. And it was, yeah, none of my friends liked to stay the night. We saw like footprints come through the floor. Again, the closet door would open and close on its own. I was terrified. The hallway, you go out to the hallway and go down about 30 feet, and the restrooms was there. Our restrooms, my brother's and mine. I wouldn't go to it. I held it all night long most of the time.
No, you don't
Uh,
want to see him again.
no, well, I spent a lot of time in my house, by myself in that house. My brother was
Mm.
playing baseball. He was traveling for baseball and he was doing really well. And so my parents every weekend would be gone. I was 19 years old, so I was able to stay home by myself. I had my own vehicle and everything, and I'd sleep in their room because we weren't allowed to have a TV in our room. And so essentially, I turned on the TV one night and had a dog, and the dog looks up at the ceiling, starts just growling. I'm like, oh no, 2 o'clock
The
in the morning.
animals see them. I think cats too. Dogs
Yeah,
and
well, yeah, I think the little kid spirits in here like the cats. I just saw Mary, the red and white one, coming here. But anyways, this dog's growling at the ceiling, and all of a sudden, here, boom, 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 boom. My dad built that house. I mean, he didn't spare any expense. Normally, when you put flooring down, you use nails. The subflooring. We had 3 stories. This house is huge. It's about 6,000 square feet. They were well off at that point in time. My parents were, and $1 million home. And so essentially, um, above their house was almost as big as this room. I mean, in that room was about as big as this room, the attic was. It was huge. And so my dad put subflooring in there because he thought, hey, in the future maybe we'll, put a third story in because you weren't legally allowed to do it at that point. But yeah, so that stuff was glued. He had the floorboards glued down and he had them screwed down on top of that. So nothing squeaked. This house was quiet at night. It's creepy as hell. You could walk down the hallway and not make a noise, and so to hear boom, 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 boom. And this went on for 5 hours. And so finally I turned their TV on and it got loud. I kept turning the volume up and it kept getting louder. It sounded like somebody's just throwing something across the floor up there.
you know
And,
what's kind of weird is when no one else hears it but you. When
yeah.
you're alone in all this and
Yeah.
people are
Well,
looking at you, what do you
exactly.
hear? What is this? If it weren't for these paranormal shows, podcasts, whatnot, it would still be in the dark ages. This
Yeah.
stuff, people. Thank
Well,
goodness people
when
are
my
open
wife
up.
first met me and she came over to the house, she was with a cousin and I went outside. I called her. I'm like, I'm not going back in the house by myself for the weekend. She wasn't allowed to be in the house with me by myself, right? My parents didn't want anybody in the house while they're gone, and I, of course, I did exactly what they told me. So I ran out there and I'm talking to her, and I'm like looking out, and my room was in the front and my brother's room was next to mine, and they had the wooden blinds, right? And so I look up and there's this figure standing in the window, and I'm like, see, I'm not going back in there. And then you see the blinds like tilt open like this, and I'm like, she's like, you got to go face that. And she finally did come in with me, and she experienced a lot of stuff in that house too. But she came in with me, and essentially we started. I was up there, doing my own research, carrying a big VHS camera, with a big cassette tape, and using my dad's audio recorder up there, a flashlight in the attic, and who's with me, and that's where I started back in 1991, I think it was. I actually started researching the paranormal, and so yeah, then that's what basically started our paranormal journey.
Did
But
you find out the history of these spirits, these ones in your home?
I'm not sure. I know there's an Indian woman here. I know that she's been here for a long time. When I first moved in, I said, you know what? We're not going to bother you. We don't want you to bother us. We're going to keep everything peaceful. The little kid spirits, they're attached to these dolls next to me. I have what, 7 or 8 of them? One of them is creepy as hell. Her eyes, I mean, they look real. And they, even though they're just locked in it, they feel like they follow you everywhere you move.
Oh my God.
It's creepy cool. She's a cool spirit.
Yeah.
And then there's the German guy, which I don't know where he came from. He may be attached to something in the house. I have several haunted objects in this room, but that's I tell them they have to stay in this room. They're not allowed to leave. And then there's a Raggedy Andy behind me that I got, and he's about 3 feet tall, and I think he may have some kind of attachment too. And then there's an old razor and all kinds of stuff in here that have, let's just call it energy. I'm not sure if it's haunted or not, but yeah, just cool. I collect different haunted objects, and I've removed things from people's homes, if you will, as well. Most of that stuff doesn't make it into my house because I just don't want that kind of negative energy in
No.
the house. But everything in the house is very positive. One of my friends, she's also very sensitive and psychic, or whatever you want to call it, and she's like, you just have like a portal going in one side of the house and a portal on the other side of the house, and they're coming through, walking through, and then going right out the other side. I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. That explains a lot. you know.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
it's powerful.
anyways, we're running out of time here. I don't want this to, snap off before we have a chance to go back over your book for a second here. Can you tell us the name of it? Maybe hold it back up so we can show people.
Sure. Can you see it?
There,
Hypocrisy,
there you go. Go out just a little bit. Awesome.
hypocrisy versus mysticism. If you just remember those words, on Linda Meris, Meris, and you'll get me on Amazon or whatnot.
Yeah,
And yeah, and it's, as I said, be ready to be hit with some tremendous, powerful, impactful information.
that's awesome. And what we'll do is we'll link her book down below. Do you have a website or anything as well?
No, but there's Book Baby. I'm with Book Baby Bookshop
Okay.
also, but they could message me on Facebook. I have a group page, Meris the Sea, a Sea of Hope.
Awesome.
So,
Okay. Well, we'll have her send us all of her links, and that'll be posted down below, guys, for you guys to go through, and you can click on that and you can go over here and have a conversation with her yourself. She seems like a really nice lady, and it's been a pleasure having you on. So thank you very much for coming on with us, and you stay haunted.
you too.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.